בוקר טוב.
So good morning.
טל קלמן.
I'm Tal Kelman.
כן, רק לא קלמן.
I'm not Kelman
שזה
though.
משודר, ואולי ההורים
And
שלי
because it's been transmitted, my parents might watch it, so I actually kind of want to make sure that I'm pronouncing my name perfectly.
קודם כל, אני מודה לך.
So I'm very grateful for inviting me here.
גם של ה-INSS.
And thank you for the initiative of the INSS and history.
היום הזה, אני בחמש דקות.
So within 5 minutes, I would like to share a few of my thoughts that I would like to ponder together with you to open this day, and of what has been said here about the tension between the lessons learned and the hindsight and the ability to look into the future. And I think that it's actually this thought is required, and to learn those lessons of this war, and of course, but I think that very often I do feel that the traumas of the past sometimes make it harder for us to look into the future, to identify opportunities and to move forward. And there is a tension between those things. I want to present the point of view of the Yom Kippur War, and I think that 50 years is enough of time to look in a more expanded and more critical way on the lessons we need to learn.
שהיו במלחמה הזאת והרבה מאוד דברים מאוד טובים שקרו ברמה הטקטית במלחמה הזאת.
But I think there are a lot of other tactical aspects that happened during this war. But I think it's enough for us to actually try to disengage from the components of trauma and to maybe impose a positive and optimistic gaze upon the future. A few of the points in my questions, really. I think that the Yom Kippur War is the war that you look at from the expanded point of view, let's say, on the genealogy of the State of Israel and its creation. And this is the war, this is a very important milestone of our existence. It's the largest national trauma, maybe the biggest one, of course, but I think that the war that finished the existential threat chapter in our history and opened again a long period of 50 years, until today, in fact, of, I would call it the security supremacy of the State of Israel upon its environment. And one of the things I want to ask myself, are we currently at the pivotal point that might be a point, I wouldn't say of a pivot, but of change, in fact. 50 years, the State of Israel, after this war, experienced the complete supremacy in the field of security and the military power in the Middle East, which led to very positive dynamics in many different aspects I would like to refer to in the future. I have no doubt that the Iranian challenge, in fact, is the challenge, not because I'm actually in charge of this issue, but when I look at from a strategic perspective, the dynamics with Iran and its challenge as a regional superpower that is challenging the additional superpower of this region of Middle East, which is the State of Israel, is no doubt the potential of change. This is one matter. The second matter, I think that this war was a war where IDF coped with a system, with some kind of network, multi-arena, multidisciplinary network of many challenges. And after this war, when the concept and perception of IDF was focused on preparations for those single arena systems, because we actually can identify different means of experience. So we think that this experience will take years, of course, in Iran as well, with all the proxies and the network that Iran operates, can be a challenge of multi-disciplinary matter. So we're preparing for what we would call the Iranian challenge. That brings us to various points that's quite similar to what we had during the Yom Kippur War. Again, I think that an IDF, when we look at, when we define what will be the reference scenario that IDF has to handle, part of our dilemmas would be whether Iran is a multidisciplinary arena, or can we prepare for the potential of a sudden attack upon the State of Israel from various arenas that may arrive? And I would say never, and the fact that we had 50 years of military supremacy doesn't mean that we shouldn't actually consider such a scenario. Third matter, I think that the Yom Kippur War is the war that evolved a dynamic of many years of an ability of the State of Israel to get closer to the Arabic world, the peace agreement with Egypt and the Jordan, Abraham Accords, and possible dynamics of normalization with other countries such as Saudis that are currently on the agenda. And I think that this war, as the milestone, as the pivotal point, brought us dynamics of many years, in fact, of 50 years, of recent 50 years. And this is one of the questions we should ask ourselves during the recent period of time, how this dynamic will impact our conceptual outlook on reality. This is a component of change, of potential, of approaching the Arabic countries around us on political, economical sense, but also in military sense is something we need to take into account. Shall we factor it in? We maybe should introduce it into our military and security strategy. This is a gradual process that is currently on the table. Obviously, we always have to balance it with the need of the State of Israel constantly be able to defend itself on their own. And the last matter I would like to bring up is I think we can actually see, when you look from the perspective of 50 years as a strategic department, I think that very often in the general staff we are analyzing a potential of ending the campaign. What are the purpose of this war? What are the goals of the war? I think when you're looking from the perspective, the political strategic impact, diplomatic strategic impact, they never happen on the day when you end the war. But those things are happening and they take years and years, but when you look today on what the Yom Kippur War brought from this achievement of the war in the perspective of 50 years, it's absolutely clear that on the day this war was over, it was absolutely unclear then. And this is the challenge that is very often of the IDF and various decision makers. So last thing I would like to mention is that no doubt that the term of failure or oversight, which is a very significant term that is embedded and impacted tremendously the IDF, is very deeply embedded in the consciousness of the decision makers and the general culture in the IDF, especially in the intelligence service. That was so much in the media because of this war. Whether we are imprisoned in our conceptions, are we looking at the decision-making process from the critical perspective, allow people to express their opinions freely, including young people that see the picture very often from a different point of view, more a liberated one, without those weights of the past. And I think this is the culture that is very important to preserve, but obviously it never remains resilience forever. And I think this war was a bit of a milestone that influenced IDF significantly from that perspective for many years. So I do think that in the end of the day, this conference is an important opportunity of learning for us. And I would like to repeat again what I just said in my opening note. I think that the learning is the learning that later on we need to put into the perspective of the current context and the potentials of the future, and to see how can we build ourselves and march forward in compliance with the existing context. When I look around and national security of the State of Israel, I see a challenge, a significant challenge that maybe is a bit of a pivotal point. We talked about Iran and multi-regional conflict. From that hand, it's an amazing opportunity for us to integrate the State of Israel into the Arabic world with all the cautiousness and all the lessons we learned from the past. This is an opportunity we need to catch and to see how can we balance those two tensions and not just sink into learning the lessons of the past, remaining the same concept and the same perspective we had for many years. I can tell you from my point of view, when looking at the IDF and the security system, it's a gradual and slow process and it takes too much time. That's it. I wish you have a pleasant conference. Unfortunately, I can stay only for the first hour, and later on I'll receive the feedbacks afterwards, so it's fine.